right, good morning, everybody. Keith Engel with TGI Sports Talk, live from East Greenbush, New York. Still the only live streaming webcast here in East Greenbush. Gorgeous weekend here in the Northeast. Hopefully you've all been outside enjoying it a little bit. It could be summer weather in the 70s the last couple days. It got outside and did some cutting up of trees and things that need to be done, and I was hoping to get done before spring, and we had the opportunity to do it. So I welcome you all here. I want to thank my guest from Friday, Fred Mitchell, from the former sports writer for the Chicago Tribune. We talked a lot about some of his experiences in the Chicago market and with the NFL in general, his relationship with Gale Sayers. He wrote a great book about, if you're into sports reading, I recommend it highly. This morning, good morning, David Guyette. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Good morning, everybody else who's in the room and I can't see. Real quick, I'm gonna go off topic a little bit here and stick with me for a second. You know, I say I don't do political stuff on my show, and I don't, but I'm gonna read you one little thing today, and stick with me because I promise you the payoff is worth it. Some of you may have already heard of this, but I found it very interesting. And you know, don't get upset if you're tuned into this and you're hearing a political statement right off the bat, because I promise you there's a payoff. So here's a little statement that was put out and I read this week. So I get it. You hated him 4 years ago. You still hate him now. Hell, I can't even stand the guy. I've seen a lot of hate thrown his way, but this guy is call it jealousy, call it envy. Some people just can't handle how successful he is and how much money he has. They couldn't even be jealous about the hot Ford model that's his wife. That's what the people who supported loved about him. Yes, there's some scandals. Yes, there have been some lies, and maybe a few times he's twisted the truth to make himself look better. But he's out there every day proving those haters wrong time after time. And you may not have wanted him in his role, but he's there now and he's done nothing, and there's nothing you can do about it. I know it's possibly going to get worse over the next several days, but like him or not, Tom Brady is turning things around in Tampa Bay. So that's my political statement of the day. Many of you may have seen this. I stole it from somebody on Facebook. I've been laughing about it every time I read it. Several people have sent it to me directly as well, so I thank them. As far as into politics as we're going to go here, guys. So today we got a lot to cover. We got yesterday's college football action, huge Notre Dame-Clemson game last night. When it seemed to go on forever. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the other upsets, the playoff situation, the Big Ten's a mess. The Pac-10 getting off to a tough start, playing a 9 a.m. game, USC and Arizona, 9 a.m. their time. 2 games canceled. You know, getting such a late start, they're going to have a tough time in the playoff. So we're going to cover everything on the college scene. We're going to get into the NFL, and we'll do our picks. So anybody who wants to join, Rick, you're here today. If you want to join in when we do the picks here in a little bit, you can certainly feel free. Going to have to pay off some wagers here at some point when we can get at least 3 people that have participated together. I think I'm going to go to BJ's for a little lunch later today, which will probably be our stop for the payoff of the wagers. Bill Pulver, Rick Sherlock, Drew Ehrlich. Anyway, let's jump right into it. I'm a little convoluted today because I've been making notes everywhere, because every time I think I'm done making notes, I make some more. It was just an interesting day in college football, starting with the Notre Dame and Clemson game. Number 1 against number 4. Notre Dame and Coach Kelly have been dreadful, you know, against top 10 opponents. I believe the record was Coach Kelly's was 3-7, I think, coming into this game. Notre Dame has played 7 times previously at home against the number 1 and only won 2 of them. Clemson was on a 36-game regular season winning streak, Hadn't lost since 2017 in the regular season. So with those two forces colliding, we fortunately got a good football game. A lot of times in the past with Notre Dame, we get to these games, these types of games, and they don't pan out well for the Irish anyway. I think the Irish are maybe something different. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence didn't play last night, but DJ, whose name I will not even try to pronounce, has played great football. His 2 games replacing Trevor Lawrence. This game last night was a really good game. Notre Dame got out to a big, 13-point lead, I think. And Clemson slowly fought back. Notre Dame didn't play well offensively, except for in spurts. They played well, the first couple of series, and then they were kind of non-existent offensively for a lot of the game after that. And Clemson slowly, methodically came back, took a lead, a 7-point lead, with just over 2 minutes left, and then a horrendous series by Clemson, with just right around 2 minutes left when they took the ball over after Notre Dame turned it over on downs. 7-point lead, horrible job of clock management. I can't blame the coaches, or unless you want to blame the coaches for the players' ineptitude when they make mental mistakes during games. I mean, they just had an atrocious series there with penalties, and guy runs out of bounds on 3rd down, stop the clock, and Notre Dame has a great final drive to tie the game, send it in overtime. And the overtime, again, this was I think a great game, but it was marred by the overuse of replay. It shouldn't take this long. It was interminable. I thought I was going to bed, to be honest with you, about 11:15. I'd be going to bed in 5 minutes. And when we're getting the end of regulation, and the 2 overtimes took like 45 minutes to play, or an hour. I'm not even sure, but too long, and it just kills the momentum of these games. I know they want to get it right, and that's what replay's for, but come on, guys. It can't take that long. It just can't. Anyway, great game, great win for Notre Dame. A loss that probably hurts Clemson a little bit. It hurts them certainly in the playoff chase, but I don't think one loss is going to necessarily keep Clemson out of the playoff for sure. Right now you're looking at Notre Dame. Well, actually, Notre Dame's not a lock. Alabama, I think, is a lock. Ohio State's a lock. The Big Ten is just terrible when Indiana and Northwestern are the second, vying to be the second best team in the conference. Notre Dame's probably in good shape, but they could see Clemson more. They could see them one more time in the ACC championship game. Most likely they will. And then they could get another matchup in the playoffs. So you could see these 2 teams playing 3 times in the season, which is really unheard of. As far as the playoff and some other scenarios, I mean, once you get by Alabama, and the 4 teams that I mentioned, Alabama, Ohio State, who did I mention? Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Clemson. It's up for grabs. If one of those teams falters, who's going to step up? Texas A&M, big win yesterday. And we'll run down the games here in a little bit. Who else? Florida had a big win over Georgia last night or yesterday afternoon. Georgia's pretty much probably taken themselves out of the running. We'll talk a little bit about Georgia in a second. But maybe it's time for one of these group of 5 teams to have a shot. Maybe it's time that Cincinnati have a chance. They're playing great football. Don't play the competition these other leagues play. I understand it, but probably all the more reason the NCAA should have gone to 8 teams this year, especially this year in the playoff. Maybe BYU again, another big win the other night against Boise State at Boise on the blue carpet. Boise State's not up to some of their historical standards, but big win by BYU. Even Liberty, undefeated. they won a really strange game yesterday, which we'll talk about against Virginia Tech. We'll talk a little bit about that. But maybe these teams need to get a shot. I mean, the Big Ten's in disarray. Wisconsin, who probably is the second best team in that conference, has now got 2 games canceled already because of COVID. Guys, I think there was, I counted them up. I don't know where my note went. It's like 16 games or something canceled yesterday. Over 10 for sure. 2 in the Pac-10. Pac-12, rather. Pac-12 is just starting their season. 2 games canceled already. I don't know how anybody from the Pac-10 can really think they're going to be in the playoff hunt. Wisconsin, as I said, has lost 2 games, or not lost 2 games, had 2 games canceled. They're probably the second best team in the Big Ten, but they've got 1 game they've played, and they're not going to get made up. So how do you rank them against teams that have played 10 or 12 games? The Big Ten, to kind of stick there for a second, it's upside down. Michigan's terrible. Jim Harbaugh's got to be probably out of there after this year. Once they get shellacked by Ohio State, in a few weeks, I don't see how. I think he's probably going to look to find an NFL job and get out of there. It just has not. I mean, he's had some decent teams, but he has not returned them to the glory days. Penn State, horrible loss to Maryland yesterday. And after they lost to Indiana already, who maybe Indiana's for real, I don't know. Or is Penn State and Michigan that bad? Northwestern beats up Nebraska, doesn't beat them up, beats Nebraska by 8 yesterday. I mean, look at this. I mean, Penn State, Michigan, and Nebraska are combined 2-9. Traditional powers down, and they've got some, like I said, cancellations that are going to hurt them. So outside of Ohio State, I don't think anybody in that conference is going to be in the conversation for the playoff. I guess it remains to be seen. But I think it's time. Maybe Cincinnati wins out and keeps winning the way they're winning. I think they've got to be considered for that 4th spot. I really do. Maybe it'll all depend on how the next clash between Notre Dame and am I grumpy this morning? Billy, I'm always grumpy when I'm talking about the NCAA lately. I mean, there's so many stupid things going on. Between the way they're handling COVID, look at the way they mobbed the field in Notre Dame last night. Super spreader. I watched too many people without masks. Dabo Sweeney without a mask half the game. You wear a game. I said this last week. I think guys are wearing masks on the sideline, coaches, until somebody gets close to them, they take their mask off. Well, you're wearing a mask the only time you don't need it, when there's nobody around you. But when you go get an official's face or a player's face, you take your mask off. Again, boatload of games canceled. So grumpy, no. Any more grumpy than normal, Billy. Oh, I'm just excited. I'm trying to show exuberance for this show. I love college football, but the scoring is terrible. The defense is terrible, as I talked about every week here. But some great games yesterday, some interesting games. So we talked about who's in the playoff hunt. Can't read that note. Heisman race heating up. It looks like all quarterbacks again. Sean McGillen, good morning. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you here this morning. I hope you stick around. Maybe you want to do some picks with us when we get to the NFL here later this morning. We could have a 4-way race this week, and Keith's struggling mightily. I'm off topic. Heisman race. Looks like all quarterbacks again. The running backs are falling back. We had a few in play early in the season, but Kyle Trask is just playing awesome for Florida. Mac Jones is playing great for Alabama, as we know. Zach Wilson for BYU. Doubtful he can get in the you need a couple winners. I need a couple winners. On a bad roll the last couple weeks. Justin Fields, it's all quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence is hurt by missing 2 games to COVID, so he probably was falling out of the Heisman race. But so that's probably where we stand there. I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL. But I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to the games quick so we can get to the NFL, but I want to get to The playoffs is going to be interesting to see what they do there. The rankings, they'll start doing those ranking shows probably here in a week or two. Billy says, check the lines. Keith has his own. I use them from one newspaper. I actually use the New York Times. So the lines change hourly anyway, Billy, based on, COVID results. So let's talk about a couple other things. Let's go through this. Let's just go through the games yesterday quick. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? If I can get to the beginning. Oh, a lot of games yesterday, huh? Early in the week. Games that were of interest to me early in the week. Nothing really. Oh, BYU. BYU blows out Boise State. Boise State was 21 in the country. Playing at home on the blue field. Teddy Bubniak, good morning, buddy. Great to see you this morning. Get some new faces today. That's awesome. So let's go through the scores again. BYU, again, their schedule is going to hurt them, but with the implosion of the Big Ten and the Big 12, I think we're going to have to look at some of these Group of Five teams, as I said earlier, like BYU, Cincinnati, probably not Liberty, but Liberty's a great story at 7-0. Big win yesterday, which we'll cover here in a second. Earlier in the week, Miami, my team of interest. Miami Hurricanes pull one out against North Carolina State on the road. They struggled the entire night, but De'Aaron King just was phenomenal, both on the ground and threw for 430 yards and 5 touchdowns, and he ran for 105 yards. He was their offense and has been. That kid is so good. And they're still going to be in the hunt for the ACC playoff game. So all Democrats. Not sure what that one means, Bill. You'll have to explain that one to me a little bit. Guys, remember, if you want to call, you can certainly do so. I think I've got the phone set. Let me give the number. Anybody wants to call, feel free. Let's put the number up there real quick. Bear with me. All right. If you want to call, somebody wants to come in live and do the picks, give me your email address. We'll certainly we can bring you right in the room if you want to do that later. When we do the picks, referring to the increase in viewers this morning. All Democrats. I don't think so, Bill. Not my audience. I'm pretty sure probably leans a little right like myself, but it is what it is. We aren't going to get into politics here. Other games. We talk about Notre Dame and Clemson. Obviously, the big game of the day, and it was all the hype was lived up to. DJ, again, I cannot say his last name, the Clemson quarterback. I won't even try. Another great game. He's done very well filling in for Trevor Lawrence the last 2 games. Come back from 2 touchdown deficits in both games. His father's quite a story too. He's a bodyguard for some of the top musicians. I don't know the names, but he's a bodyguard for people that are big in the music industry. And he's character in there in the stands. Ohio State beats up on Rutgers. Rutgers played, stayed close for a little bit, but not long. I mean, they played gamely except for the second quarter when Ohio State outscored them 28-0. Florida, Georgia. Got to touch on this game. Georgia got to have 14-0 in this game, and then Florida just steamrolled them. After that, 44-14. The final was 48-28. Kyle Trask, as I said, a huge day again, 474 yards through the air and 4 touchdowns. And Georgia just continues to have quarterback problems. And I will credit this next comment to my friend in Atlanta, Greg Hall, talking about the quarterback problems at Georgia for years. He threw names out there today that of guys from the Atlanta area that went elsewhere. Cam Newton, Heisman Trophy winner. Deshaun Watson, college football champion with Clemson. Trevor Lawrence, we know about Trevor Lawrence. And Josh Fields. None of them go to Georgia. Kirby Smart's got a little trouble recruiting quarterbacks, apparently. So Georgia's probably taking themselves out of playoff hunt. I'd say Florida's still alive, obviously. Cincinnati wins convincingly against Houston, a Houston team that has given them trouble over the years. They go to 6-0 in the American Conference. And again, they're number 6 in the country. It's going to be interesting when the first playoff rankings come out. Texas A&M wins big over South Carolina. They lost their opening game. They've won 5 straight, and they could win out. They'll probably be favored in all their games. They're going to be on the cusp of the playoff too. So maybe Jumbo Fisher has finally turned it around there. Time will tell. Oregon and Stanford, big win for Oregon, but a 35-14. But again, the Pac-12 is going to have trouble getting people to take them seriously when it comes to the playoff conversation, just because of the lack of games. They'd have no provisions for making up games. They had 2 canceled already yesterday. A lot of games postponed, which we'll get to after we go through the run-through here, guys. Yeah. Billy says Trevor Lawrence is staying at Clemson and wants to get his degree. Well, he can get his degree with about, $50 million in his pocket after the draft. No way Trevor Lawrence stays. I'd be shocked. Well, we'll see. We have that argument every week, though. We'll see. Indiana rolls over Michigan. Jim Harbaugh, as I said, probably on his way out. I can't see any way he stays, especially when he's going to get beat probably badly by Ohio State here in a few weeks. But Indiana's a great story. 3-0 in the Big Ten, maybe the second best team in the league, which tells you where they're at, with Penn State and Michigan just in total disarray. Oklahoma State does it with defense again. After a tough loss last week, they beat Kansas State 20-18. Nothing that really makes me think Oklahoma State's going to jump back up the rankings here. Coastal Carolina, 7-0. They're 15th in the country. Not a good schedule. But, again, these are the teams that maybe the NCAA needs to start giving a chance. Expanding the playoff to 8 games, as I keep saying. Marshall with a big win over UMass. Big scores again, guys, 51-10. I'll get to some of these scores a bit later. Iowa State, 38-31 over Baylor. Big 12 is kind of beating each other up. Oklahoma's righted the ship a little bit. They won 62-9 yesterday over Kansas. Back-to-back 60-point games, I think, for the first time in their history. Might be the first time in NCAA history. I have to double-check that stat. But Oklahoma is starting to right the ship. But again, the Kansas is not a good team, obviously. 0-7. The Mad Hatter, Les Miles, is off to a rough start between his team's performance and his own COVID situation here a few weeks back. Hopefully he's doing better. I think he's back on the sideline now. SMU rolls over Temple. SMU, another good team for that American. That's the problem. Not the problem. I don't think people give the American, the AAC, enough credit. They play a lot of good football. Cincinnati, we already talked about. SMU, Memphis, Houston, not a bad football team. Boise State's having a down year. Well, I shouldn't say a down year. They were 2-0, ranked before they lost at home to BYU. But we'll talk a little bit about Memphis game in a second. That was a kind of a crazy finish. USC wins 28-27 and a 9 a.m. local time start. These guys will do anything for television, I swear to God. Those guys were at their pregame meal at 4:45 yesterday. Sean says Cincinnati looked great again. I agree, Sean. If you weren't here earlier for my comments, Cincinnati deserves a shot at the playoffs if they run the table. They really do. But we have this conversation every year. Florida, Central Florida is another team in the AAC. Again, Texas over West Virginia. Texas, again, middling teams. Big 12 has got a bunch of teams that are good but not great. Liberty, I talked a little bit about Liberty yesterday. Crazy game, crazy finish. Liberty's 7-0. They beat Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech, which is, Virginia Tech is not great this year, but at home, that's a great win for Liberty. They're 7-0. The game ended in crazy fashion. Liberty attempted, I think, a 59-yard field goal. Virginia Tech blocked it, ran it back to win the game as it was tied. Problem is, the head coach called timeout to ice the kicker. And after the penalty, Liberty decided to run one more play, ended up with a 51-yard attempt, and kicked it to win the game by 38-35. Virginia Tech head coach said he would call that timeout every time. So, it's not like the second guessers can't really get on him if that's his MO. Again, I'm not a big fan of that anyway. You're not, unless you got a really shaky kicker. Memphis, 34-33 over South Florida. They were down 13 with 5 minutes left and came back to win that game by 1. East Carolina, Tulane. Tulane wins 38-21. North Carolina rolls. They fall out of the rankings after a bad loss last week. They score 56 against a bad Duke team on the road. At least North Carolina woke up on the road. They were playing horrible on the road. Well, Northwestern, we talked about. They go to 3-0, beating Nebraska. Again, Nebraska's hit the skids, huh? Such an historically great program. They've been just nowhere for the last, it feels like 10 years. I'm not sure how long it is. It's probably not that long, but they've been a non-entity in the Big Ten since they moved there. I thought it was a bad move anyway. And now they've made all kinds of, enemies there this year with the whole COVID situation, and they wanted to play. They were the most vocal when the Big Ten had canceled the season originally. They wanted to play anyway, leave the conference, play an independent schedule, which I don't know how they would have ever put together that late. Then a couple of weeks ago, they were trying to schedule a game when the Wisconsin game got scheduled or canceled. Anyway, Iowa finally gets their first win against Michigan State, who beat Michigan last week. So how bad is Michigan? They get run over by Michigan State last week, who lost to Rutgers a week before badly. Not a really good Rutgers team either. And then they get beat 49-7 by Iowa yesterday. And in between, they beat Michigan badly. So how bad is, Billy says, what's up with Michigan State? I don't think they're a good football team, which means Michigan's got to be awful. Awful. What else we got? Louisiana, Arkansas State, 27-20. Georgia Southern, Boston College beats Syracuse. Syracuse is 1-7. BC's not that good, and Syracuse loses at home again. They're 1-7, and I don't know. Dino Babers might be in trouble there. They're just really, really, really bad, and it's a shame because they were making progress. And I don't know what's gone wrong there. We'll have to dig into that a little bit. Southern Miss beats Northern Alabama. Nothing to see there. Penn State. Maryland's now 2-1, but they're not that good a football team, at least on paper. Penn State has not won a game. They're 0-3 after being ranked in the top 10 for weeks without playing a game. Problem with the polls in this COVID March season is that, all along we've had teams that hadn't played still being ranked in the top 25, even in top 10. You had Wisconsin, you had Penn State, you had USC, Oregon, all these teams ranked at the, to the detriment of somebody else who might have deserved to be ranked. And now they've got to climb to try to make their way towards a playoff. And Penn State has shown they should not have been, as they get killed 35-19. 35-19, I don't think it was even that close. I think Maryland was up 28-0 in this game. Minnesota finally gets on the winning track, beats Illinois 41-14. Mississippi State, Mike Leach finally gets his second win in the SEC. TCU beats Texas Tech. Fresno beats UNLV. Pittsburgh 41-17 over Florida State. Florida State 2-5. Man, again, we talk a lot about. I've talked a lot about on my shows and with some of my guests on my Friday interview show. Whether it's baseball, the NFL, basketball, college football. there's certain teams where the seasons are better, the leagues are better when certain teams are good. And quite frankly, college football is better when Florida State's good, when Miami's good, when Texas is good, when Ohio State's good, and they are now. Alabama's good. There've been years before Nick Saban were, but NCAA football is better with those teams because they're polarizing teams. People love them or hate them. So they're better. But Florida State's nowhere. I don't know what's it's gonna take to turn things around there. Florida Atlantic wins. Any other good games here to chat about? Arkansas beats Tennessee. Tennessee again was showing promise heading in. Looked like they were making strides, and now they're 2-4, and things are falling apart there. Washington State, again, the Pac-12 finally gets underway, but I think they only had 2 games played, maybe. Maybe there was 3. But Washington State beats Oregon State, and they had 2 games canceled, which, again, is going to hurt them. And that's why they're not going to get any consideration for the playoff. So the games canceled yesterday. Again, Purdue and Wisconsin. Wisconsin's really, they're still 10th in the country. They played 1 game. These other teams, I'm giving you 7, 6, 7, 8 games, except for the Big Ten, where like Ohio State's 3-0, but they're obviously one of the top 4 teams in the country. Josh Fields has been phenomenal, but Wisconsin's still 10th in the. This hurts them. They're not making those games up. So, Army Air Force canceled. Postponed. They're going to look to make that game up. Tulsa Navy. Any other big games? Guys, there's like 12 games here canceled yesterday again. Where's that noise coming from? Anybody else hear that? Aha. We got a video playing that shouldn't be playing here. All right. Anyway, I think that's it. A lot of canceled games. The big story is Notre Dame, Clemson. I'm moving on. Great day in college football, though. I like to see college football back. There's a lot of there's going to be a lot of controversy surrounding the playoff this year, with the discrepancy of number of games played. The only team I can see that's going to play a really short schedule is going to be Ohio State. They're just obviously one of the best 4 teams in the country. Should I put my hand over my face like that? Any of you get new guys? My wife had bought me this for my birthday back in August because Bill Pulver was commenting on the ugly coffee cup I had the first few weeks of my show. So I thank my beautiful wife for that. Thank you. All right, guys, let's move on. Enough about college football. If anybody's got any questions or wants to bring anything else up about that, bring it up. But let's move on to the big leagues. Not that college football isn't the big leagues, but let's look a little bit at the NFL. COVID-19 still wreaking havoc with the NFL. I believe 33 players, and this was probably Friday that I heard this number, so it may have gone up. I think 33 players tested positive this week. Jacksonville and Miami was in extreme COVID-19 protocols. No games postponed as of yet, but it continues to be a problem, and we hope both with college and the pros, and I'll get you to that comment in a minute, Billy. Both college and the pros, that everybody stays healthy and safe, and we do this smart for the players. I get worried when I see scenes like last night at Notre Dame when, again, the limited number of fans, they still mob the field. No social distancing. You got to be careful in these situations. And the coaches, I'm worried about what the coaches are doing or not doing. So we'll see. College is really, this season is starting to be marred more and more by COVID-19. And it remains to be seen, what will happen going forward. And they're talking about some bubble situations too once we get towards the playoff. So that's one of the big stories. I mean, we got some big players coming back this week. I mean, let's just take a look at the league right now, real quick before we move on. Okay, let's look at the AFC first. NFC East. I'm sorry. Oh boy, NFC East. We'll get to that. The AFC East. Buffalo 6-2, not playing that well. Again, they've given up more points than they've scored now. Their defense seems to be getting worse by the week. The Patriots, with a really bad offense, should have beat them last week. And the Patriots have imploded. Check out my little State of the Patriots vlog the other day. You know, this season's over. They're not going anywhere. Actually, let me touch on that. It's possible that the NFL is going to expand the playoffs again. They did expand it to 7 teams in each league, with the number 1 seed getting a bye. And I forgot to go back to Billy's comment. He's going to send me a Jets mug. It has no bottom. It's empty all the time. That's awesome. And COVID's not going away. And it didn't go away with Joe Biden. We don't get into politics here, Sean, but no. COVID didn't miraculously disappear yesterday at noon when he was declared the winner. And it's not going to go away. So back to the AFC East. The Patriots are not making the playoffs. I don't care if they're not good. They're not good. They knew it. They sold out to win, the last 5 years and got 3 Super Bowl wins out of it, another AFC championship game appearance, and it's caught up with them. Between Brady leaving, between the cap problems that they have this year and the injury problems, it's just too much to overcome. The fact that they don't have a quarterback. Yes, the Patriots season is over, I think, Bill. Except for, again, the games are still important because it's time to find out who they want on this team next year. I said in my vlog the other day, again, check it out. It's only about 12 minutes. It was a short one. I'm going to start doing these vlogs more, too, by the way, during the week. I have one on the Masters, I think, Monday or Tuesday. The Patriots have got it. They got to start evaluating for next year, and part of that is the quarterback. You're nowhere without a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback, and we got to find out if Garrett Stidham is anywhere close to an NFL quarterback. Cam Newton is a liability right now. His arm strength is gone. His pocket presence is terrible. He holds onto the ball too long. No, I won't be picking the Jets, Billy. But they're in total disarray. And I was shocked they didn't make any moves at the trade deadline. Another conversation about the NFL is the lack of movement at the trade deadline. It could be COVID related. I don't know what the real answer is there. Sean, it's funny because I've covered this topic several times. Sean's commenting that Brady never needed Bill. You think Bill needs Brady? Well, right now, the cupboard's empty right now. So Brady got out at the right time. And it is not one or the other. It's both. Brady would have won a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls somewhere else with another head coach. Belichick would have won a Super Bowl or 2 Super Bowls without Brady. Neither one of them has the run that they had the last 20 years, winning that division, going to, winning 6 Super Bowls, going to going to 10 Super Bowls in 20 years, unheard of. Good morning, Kenny Gifford. Good to see you this morning, too. Good crowd today. So, again, right now, Brady looks like he didn't need Bill, but guess what? He's also surrounded by a crapload of weapons that he did not have his last 2 years in New England. And everybody who is here, Sean McGillen, better than anybody, knows how much I love Tom Brady and will not denigrate Tom Brady. But you can't say Bill Belichick, wouldn't have won any Super Bowls without Tom Brady. I don't think. My humble opinion, only watching the team year after year, game after game. All right, Patriots are done. Evaluate for next year. Let's move on. Dolphins are surprising at 4-3, plus 58 differential. They got the best differential in that division, and third best in the conference. Guys, Dolphins might be for real. I was downplaying them a couple of weeks ago. I spent some. I go on a show called the Mac and Jack show on Fridays to talk talk Patriots football, and we got talking about the Dolphins a few weeks back, and I thought they were a year away, but making great strides. I think Brian Flores is a great coach. I was a little surprised when they went to Tua when they did, but they're 4-3, and they're for real. So who knows? Maybe they're still alive in the division. They're certainly alive for the playoffs. I think if the playoffs were to start today, which is, of course, a stupid thing to say because there's 7 weeks to play. I'm sorry, 8 weeks to play. But the Dolphins are right in the playoff hunt, along with the Raiders. I think they're like tied for the last slot right now, unless they expand. I want to back up here. I'll back up for a second because Kenny's got a comment about the college top 5 in turmoil. Make no mistake, I do know you're a Notre Dame fan. In fact, I keep wanting to find out what was the connection where you were going to the games all the time here a few years back. I never did get a chance to ask you that. But I agree. So Kenny's glad they beat Clemson, but once again, they are not a top 4 team. I'm talking about Notre Dame, I guess. I don't know. I think they might be. So I don't want to back up too far, but it is in turmoil, Kenny. I think you're right. After, and I talked about this a little while ago, after Alabama and Ohio State, the rest could be up for grabs because Clemson is going to play Notre Dame again, most likely. And there's other teams, and I think the group of 5 teams ought to get a shot. So just to regress a little bit because I wanted to let Kenny get in the conversation there. We got to talk sometime, Ken. I still want to know about that Notre Dame connection you have there. And maybe we get somebody on the show from Notre Dame. If you got any connections out there, I get somebody on my show on Fridays. Moving on, AFC North, the Steelers go to 7-0. One of the big stories in football. The Steelers are playing some really, really good football. The games where they struggled against the Giants a little bit, but everybody's going to struggle somewhat somewhere. And you got to win those games. And those are the good teams. They find a way. To win. And that's what good teams do. And they were one of the big winners last week, and the Browns were one of the big losers. The Browns could have had a chance to go to 6-2. I still am not a big believer in Baker Mayfield. We'll see. The Ravens are 5-2, but Lamar Jackson is not playing like last year's Lamar Jackson. Against really good defenses, he struggles. And we've talked about it in this room. I got to go back here a second. Sorry, guys. I'll catch that comment in a second. Lamar Jackson struggles. We've talked about in this room that, maybe the running quarterbacks are not the answer. I mean, they seem to be all the rage, right? Something new, but defenses catch up with guys like that and schemes like that. And you got to be able to throw the ball in the NFL today, for sure. In college, for that matter. Kenny, give me I lost your, I'm looking at your comment here about he'll be a bust in the pros. I'm not sure who we're talking about. Because I can't see. Maybe we're talking about Lawrence. I'm not sure. So anyway, give me an idea what we're talking about. It'll be a bust in the pros, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So anyway, back to this AFC North. I might have called it Central earlier. Sorry about that. Shows you how old I am. The Bengals are 2-5, but I'll tell you what, the Bengals have played some pretty good football. Joe Burrow was really surprised in his first year. And the Bengals are on the right track. They got a lot of injuries, though, today, man. They got Mixon out. Ross is still out. We'll run down some of the injuries here in a little bit. We'll go through the games. We'll talk about some of the injuries. The South, AFC South, Tennessee's 5-2. Lost a couple games in a row now. Still got the best. I don't know if they have the best defense in the best weapon in the AFC as far as running the football is got to be Derrick Henry. I guess they're talking about Trevor Lawrence will be busting in pros. I'm not so sure, guys. Not so sure. Titans not as good as maybe they seemed to be when they were 5-0. Never been a big fan of that team. I love Mike Vrabel, but even last year, I'm just not a fan of the quarterback. I don't know. We'll see. The Colts, I'm not big on the Colts. So this division, as usual, is kind of an afterthought, and they'll get somebody in the playoffs because they have to. Maybe two teams, who knows? But I'm not a big fan of the Colts either. Phillip Rivers, again, if they have to rely on Phillip Rivers, he had one good second half here to bring him back to victory. But, Phillip Rivers, I think, is finished. And speaking of finished, the Texans and the Jaguars are finished in that division as well. In the West, of course, the Chiefs are the class of the league, probably the class of the conference and the class of the league. Mahomes and Wilson are probably 1 and 1A as far as the best quarterbacks. But Mahomes, the Chiefs they play defense. Their point differential is better than anybody's, and they win tough games. Again, they win the games, and they do have a loss, yes, but to the Raiders, division game, big rivalry game. So you're going to lose somewhere. Most everybody is. So they're just the class of the league, and still a heavy favorite, I would think, to come out of there. Even with the Steelers' success, I think the Chiefs are still the class of the AFC. Broncos starting to return. Broncos were one of my underdog picks of the year to kind of move forward, and they got off to a horrible start at 0-3, and they've won 3 of the last 4 to move to 3-4. The Raiders up and down. Never know who's going to show up from week to week. The Chargers are improving, but still 2-5. And we go to the NFC, and the NFC least. The Eagles actually take command of the division at 3-4-1. God, it's awful, guys. Their combined point differential is just horrendous. The Washington team, formerly known as the Redskins, is our second at 2-5 and only a game behind. The Cowboys, as bad as they are, only a game and a half behind. And the Giants are still only 2 games out of the playoff picture. Or 2.5 games. Giants are going nowhere. Let's look at this division a little bit. The Eagles still are the best team. They got to get by their injury problems, some of the strange calls their coach makes. Carson Wentz still, the jury's still out. I think he's an NFL quarterback and can take a team to a Super Bowl. We'll see. Washington, still no quarterback. They've given up. They've given up on, oh God, the hell's his name? Somebody help me out. Who was their draft pick from Ohio State? He's a bust. They need a quarterback, and I don't know what Ron Rivera's going to do a good job there eventually, but they need a quarterback. The Cowboys, we all know their story. I think Dak is probably chopping at the bit because it looks like Jerry's going to have to pay him. Thank you, Haskins. Thank you, Rick Sherlock. God, he's a bust. Anyway, back to Dak. I think Dak's probably really, really happy because Jerry's going to have to pay him. I mean, Andy Dalton is not the answer. They don't have a quarterback. They could finish low enough in the standings, I guess, to have a decent shot at one of the top quarterbacks, Lawrence Fields or Wilson, kid from South Dakota. There's going to be some good quarterbacks coming out. Mac Jones may come out. I'm not sold on Mac Jones as an NFL quarterback, by the way. Which is one of the reasons I think the Patriots have gotten to back up again. It's one of the reasons the Patriots have got to find out about Stidham. Play him. I started to say this. Play him. Let him take the reps in practice. Let him get out there and play it, game speed for the next 8 weeks. This would have been a great week to put him in against the Jets, actually, to build some confidence. But anyway, I digress. Sean says Allen's not too bad for Washington. Yeah, he's playing okay. But again, as long as you want to, be 7-8-1 or something, I mean, Allen's fine. But if you want to win a Super Bowl, you probably need a quarterback at some point, right? So, and the Giants are the Giants. Look at Daniel Jones. If I hear Danny Dimes one more time, if there's anybody who doesn't live up to a nickname, it's Danny Dimes. This guy can't. I'm gonna lose it here. He's not any good. He's he is. Oh God, maybe it's the team, maybe it's the line, but this is 3 years or 2 years now, and the man turns the ball over like a machine. Fumbles, interceptions. You got to take better care of the football. I don't care about the rest of it. I think the Giants are probably going to have to look around for a quarterback. I think he needs to step up and step up sooner. He's going to be in trouble there. And again, Danny Dimes, guys, please stop dropping that on Facebook. Gosh, Danny Dimes. Maybe I am grumpy, Billy. More coffee. I didn't go out. I had to work yesterday in the yard, and I'm just so beat up from running a chainsaw all afternoon. I think I'm going to go out today and have a little lunch, watch some football, have a few beers. Anyway, where are we at? NFC North. Green Bay, the class of the division, but they're showing some holes here the last few games as well. The Bears are come back to earth, 5-3. The Lions, I thought were making moves in the right direction, and they fall backwards a little bit. Matt Patricia, Danny Nickel. That might be actually a bit too positive too, Billy. I don't know. Matt Patricia is trying to hold on to his job here with the Lions. I thought they were starting to turn the corner a little bit. They did lose Stafford last week. He's back this week out in the COVID protocol. And the Vikings, Rick Sherlock's Vikings, finally starting to win some games. Beat up on the Packers last week. So maybe they've turned the corner. And you know what? 2-5. I said the Patriots are out of it at 2-5. But there's it's more than the record there. It's also the way they're playing, and the quarterback situation and the injury situation and everything else. The Vikings could make a run to the playoffs here. As bad as they played for 5 weeks, it's possible they turn it around. We'll see. They're getting healthy. And if Kirk Cousins, who I'm not a big fan of, plays well, their running game and if their defense plays better and they've got a defensive head coach, they should play better than they've played. And they played better of late, of course. They could make a run here to the playoffs. It's another reason I'm not excited about expanding the playoffs again, right? You expanded it to 7 games as it is. If they go to an 8th team, you're going to have a season that's already, in disarray because of the COVID situation gets worse because you're going to have more and more mediocre teams, and you run the chance of a team that's 500 or something getting into the Super Bowl. Good grief. Don't do it. Don't expand more. They're talking about doing it because there may be teams, again, with the COVID situation, it's going to become more and more possible. And later we go in the season that there'll be teams that play a different number of games, more than others, obviously. So I don't do it. Don't do it. The good thing about that plan, though, one of the good things, I guess, depending on your viewpoint, is that if they went to 8 teams, there'd be no more the division champions get a home game. They one would play 8, 2 would play 7, etc. So, the Eagles, for instance, would not be, the 4th seed. They'd be the 8th seed right now. So, anyway, let's move on. NFC South. The previously mentioned Buccaneers are playing some great football. They struggled last week against the Giants, but they're 6-2. Defense is playing pretty good recently. Tommy's playing better, but Tommy's 42 years old. How old is he? 43. Come on. I'm not sure, again, he's surrounded by weapons, and now they throw Antonio Brown into the situation, and it appears, Tom's going to get anybody brought in there that he wants. He got Gronk brought in, who's playing better football lately, by the way. But now he's got Antonio Brown in there, and if there's a guy who can throw a wrench into the chemistry there that they've started to build, early in the year, Tommy was having some struggles. We saw what happened in the Saints game, and a couple of games he threw a couple pick sixes in the first few weeks of the season. And part of it was chemistry and getting to know guys. And now we're going to blow that up a little bit. I know they got some injuries, but Goodwin's better than Antonio Brown at this point. Brady's not 12 years old, Bill. Stop. Don't make me have to spend my entire show defending Tom Brady. On one hand, I'm knocking him because Sean says he's responsible for winning all those games, all those Super Bowls. Yeah, he played a big part in them, but Bill Belichick did as well. Brady's doing well. I'm not rooting against Tom Brady. But it's funny how he's getting. I mean, I fully expect Julian Edelman to be there next year. Who knows who else will be there. The Saints have played not good football, but are still 5-2, only a half a game behind the Bucks, and they play a big game today. Going to be a big game today. The Panthers, who again were one of my dark horses, have struggled recently. Still love the coach, Matt Rule. Still love the coach. I think overall, in the long run, they're heading in the right direction. Falcons, God, I don't know. I cannot pick the Falcons to save my life. They beat me again last week. We'll see what happens there. Matty Ice may end somewhere else next year. But he's got a tough contract to take on. NFC West, again, I said last week, that probably the best overall division in the league. That may take a hit. The 49ers, after starting to get it back together, are starting to have the wheels come off again. Really bad loss last week to the Seattle. Jimmy G is, again, being questioned about whether he's the future there, and he's hurt again. And he may be out for the year. I believe he's got a high ankle sprain, which is going to take some time. Kittle may be out for the year. Samuel's out today, I think. So they got some problems. But at the top, the Seahawks are 6-1. I think they're the class of the NFC. Myself. And the Cardinals are surprisingly at 5-2. Bad loss to the Lions at home, notwithstanding. They've played really good football. Murray is looking like an NFL quarterback. And Dolphins high tide. Drown the Cards. We're going to do the picks in a minute, Bill. Line them up. Who's in for picks? Tell me who's in, by the way. Billy and Rick, you both in? Anybody else who wants to join in, feel free. Just give me your tell me you're going to be picking so I can keep track of them as we go along in the chat. We'll be making the picks here in a second. Where else? The Rams are 5-3. Again, I think the Rams are better than what they've shown here a couple of weeks. Got beat by Miami last week on the road. Again, tough for teams to come West Coast to East Coast. And I usually stay away from those games. I took the Rams last week like a dummy. That shows you how I'm struggling, Sean, if you're still here. So that's kind of a look at the where we're at in the league. I talked about the expanded playoff potential. Some big names back this week. McCafferty's back for the Carolina. Stafford's back for the Lions. Dez Bryant activated by the Ravens today. Any other? Ridley, I guess, may play today for Atlanta. Ingram's out again for the Ravens. Ross, I mentioned. Mixon, both out for. Ross wants to be traded too by the Bengals. He's not a bad receiver. He says he's ready to play. They won't activate him. Hilton's out, questionable for the Colts. I got to be careful because I mix up my questionables and my outs here, and I messed up with Rick's team last week. I thought the Cook was out, and he was questionable, and he played, and man, he destroyed the Packers last week. Sammy Watkins is out for the Chiefs. Osa's out for the Chargers. few others. Golden Tate out for the Giants. Who cares who's out for the Giants, right? That's about it. Guys, got any other topics you want to talk about? Bring them up. And we will move on to the picks, I think, because what we'll do now, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Guys, by the way, all these, if you haven't liked and followed the page, Sean, which you may have if you found your way here today, and some of you guys or some of your friends don't want to sit in front of the computer for an hour on Fridays to get, an hour and a half or 2 hours on a Sunday. Sometimes we go 2 hours when we got a lot to talk about. Everything's going to be on Spotify as well. So if they prefer podcasts and an audio version, it's there. All they got to do is search out TGI Sports Talk. So I post everything in Podbean, and I'm able to share it to some other, distribute it to some other podcast outlets. Spotify is probably the biggest one. Haven't found a way to get on iTunes yet without it costing a bundle. But there's some smaller ones there as well. So anyway, let's let people know if they're podcast people to look for TGI Sports Talk on Spotify. All right. You guys ready for the picks? I'm putting myself in, of course. Last week, 5-8, guys. Oh my God, am I on a bad roll here? I started out the season so well. Billy went 5-8 as well, picking against me. So I'm going to assume Billy's picking today, and I don't know about Rick. Sean, you want to pick? You want to pick with us? If you do, you'll be able to get into the BJ's excursion that we will have. First week we did this, I made wagers with Billy and my brother-in-law, Drew. And now Rick is also involved in my Rick Sherlock. And we all can make the trip. So, Sean, if you want to pick, you can pick along with us. I'll give the games. I give the spread that I have. Sorry, Billy. All right, Sean's in. And we go with the honor system, by the way, on Thursday night games, Sean. So I can tell you that I was on the Packers, and I think the other guys can verify that my honesty here, because I've lost more Thursday night games than I've won. So you guys can start by giving me your Thursday night picks, and I'll put those in as we start talking about this week's games. I know we got a little delay, so I'm waiting a little bit. We're going to start with the Ravens at the Colts, but you guys give me your Thursday night picks first. I'll track all this stuff. I'll post the results on the TGI Sports Talk page later in the week. Sean was on the Packers. Of course you were. Billy was on the Packers. And Rick, I don't know. I can't assume Rick would be on the Packers as a Viking fan, so we'll kind of wait to see what Rick's got to say here. I don't want to fall behind here. He's regrettably on the Packers. All right, so we all start 1-0. We're going to start today with the Ravens at the Colts, 1 p.m. The Ravens minus 2.5. As I said, Mark Ingram's out. Des Bryant's active for the Ravens. Don't know how big a deal that's going to be, but Lamar Jackson has struggled against good defenses. Colts have a good defense. I'm not a Phillip Rivers fan. This is going to be an interesting game. I think it's a big game for the Ravens. Big game for the Colts. They're both 5-2. I'm going to take the points at home here. I'm going to take the Colts plus 2.5. Just because of the defense. Sean's on the Ravens. Billy's on the Ravens. And Rick is on the Ravens. So Keith's the only one going to bet on 60-year-old Phillip Rivers. This will not be one that I take in the cigar box, by the way. Sean. I can tell you that right now. Next game, we got Seattle at Buffalo. Seattle is 3 points on the road. A lot of road dogs this year. A lot of road favorites this year. A lot more than I can remember. Some good teams being underdogs at home. So I'm not sure what you're telling me there. 2.5. No, 3. Stop it. I'm going to have to ban Billy from the room here in a minute. Kidding, Bill. Seahawks -3. It's a tough game. Bills have not played that well. I have this thing with West Coast teams coming east. They've probably done better this year than they've done in the past. I'm going to go with Seattle today, and I know Buffalo will probably jump up and bite me in the ass, but we'll see. Sean's on Seattle. Rick's on Seattle. Billy's on Seattle. That's his second home, I think, now, right? Your second favorite team? Next game, Dolphins at the Cardinals. Cardinals 4.5. Miami started to play a lot better football. Interesting move to Tua 2 weeks ago. He did win last week, but he really was not a factor, I don't think, in the victory. They scored every kind of way you could think of other than a quarterback throwing a touchdown, I think. I don't believe he threw a touchdown pass last week. But again, I think overall they're going to get as much out of Tua as they would have got out of Ryan Fitzpatrick the rest of the year. I know Sean loves Ryan Fitzpatrick, but so I'm going to take the Cardinals today. -4.5. Sean is on his real team. We all know Sean's real team is the Dolphins, not the Patriots. So, well, maybe you guys don't know that, but now you do. And don't be mad at me for calling you out, Sean. It's all in good fun. Good. I'm glad you're laughing. Where am I? Lost track. Where are we here? Where's Rick's picks? Rick's on the Cardinals. Billy, where's your pick? Yes, second favorite. You telling me you're taking Arizona, Bill? Cardinals? I'm guessing. I'm not sure. Oh, Billy's on the Dolphins. Sorry. All right, Bill. We scheduled you. We recorded it. Another big game today. The Saints at the Buccaneers. That's a Sunday night game. I'm off the next 2 days. I get to watch some football and not have to worry about getting up in the morning. Bucs are 5.5-point favorites at home. Antonio Brown expected to play today. Big deal, right? That's the over-under on a number of games before he gets suspended, by the way. How much he's involved will probably depend on the health of Chris Godwin. I think a good one last week. I have a bad habit of doing that. A lot of weapons, as we said, for the Patriots, but the Saints are hanging around. They beat Tampa Bay in Week 1 at home. I did say the Cards were 4.5. Yes, Bill. I'm going to have to take. Boy, I'm going to take Tampa Bay here. Just because I can't pick against Tommy. I've picked against him too many times this year. Sean's on Tampa Bay. Bucks for Rick. And Billy's pick here is going to be. What are you looking up your Vegas guys, Bill? Giants are not the pick here. You're killing me. It's like having an instant replay in the middle of the show, right? How to kill the momentum. Thank you, Bill. Give me your pick so I can move on to a really bad game. You know, I think this is a big game, the Saints and you got me saying Giants now, Bill. The Saints and the Bucks, because this is for control of the division. And the Saints have already beat the Bucks once, so they tie them. They're obviously in the lead. I'm going to move on to the next game while I wait for Billy's pick on the Buccaneers and Saints. I'm going to move on to a really bad game. The Steelers minus 13.5 at the Cowboys. Cowboys have no quarterback. Ben DiNucci, I think, got benched today, which, again, they might as well be playing Dominic DiNucci than Ben DiNucci. I just don't see any way the Cowboys, Emmett Thomas. God, what is wrong with me? Boy, Ezekiel Elliott. They were the same number. No, Zeke's 21. Okay, I got no reason for making that mistake. Billy's on the Saints. Thanks for that pick, by the way, Bill. I also said the Patriots have weapons. Oh, my God. Maybe I better put something else in my coffee rather than cream. I'm going with the Steelers, guys. I'll lay the points on the road. Certainly, again, will not be a cigar box pick, but maybe I'll give you those before I go. Sean's on the Steelers. Rick's on the Steelers. Billy, the outlaw, goes with the Cowboys. Panthers at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 10.5. This is probably going to be a cigar box pick for me, guys. 10.5 points. Carolina, they're not a pushover. They do get Christian McCaffrey back today, but the Chiefs are just too good. The only way they get beat is if they're a bit disinterested. You got a 2-game lead in the division, but Andy Reid keeps them pretty well focused. And even in games where they seem to be disinterested, they come back and cover a lot of times. So I'm gonna lay the 10.5 and take Kansas City. Sean is quickly on the Panthers. I've been there a lot this year, Sean. Never the right games though. So we'll wait. We're waiting on Rick and Billy's picks here. Billy's on the Chiefs. Rick's on the Panthers. All right. Well, we got the variety going on here now. Let's move on to the next game. Raiders at the Chargers. Chargers are 1.5. Raiders are 4-3. The Chargers are only 2-5, but the Chargers have played a lot better football than that. I think they're as good as the Raiders at this point. Justin Herbert has played really well. And I think the Chargers have a better defense, even with Bosa out today. So I'm going to go with the hometown Chargers minus 1.5. Plus the Raiders are just up and down, man. It's you can't pick. It's hard to pick them. But this could be a cigar box pick for me. I'm not sure. I'll give you. I'll see what I'll give you my preliminary. I'll have 3 games I'm going to pick today in the cigar box. So Rick's on the Chargers. Sean is on the Raiders. Billy's on the Chiefs. Oops, wrong pick. Sorry, Bill. Raiders. All right, we're moving along, guys. Bears at the Titans. Titans are minus 5.5. The wheels are starting to come off the Bears. They're off to a great start, a surprising start. But it's really starting the wheels are coming off. There's some question about the play calling. The quarterback play has been not good. I just don't think they're that good. And the defensive woes of the Titans may bring the Bills. I'm sorry, the Bills. The Bears' offensive production up a little today, but I just think that this is Derrick Henry day today. The Titans win, cover the 5.5. Who else we got? Titans for Sean. Titans for Rick. Bill, the Jaguars aren't playing this game. Man, Where are you? Where are you drinking again so early in the morning? Give me your pick while I move on. Another team I can't pick coming up. Remember, Bill, just to remind you, it's the Bears at the Titans. The Titans are 5.5, not the Jaguars. We're moving on to the Broncos and the Falcons. The Falcons are -4. I don't know how they can be -4. Broncos aren't that good, but they're playing better football. Thank you, Billy. Billy's on the Titans as well. Falcons are a team, historically, I've not been able to pick correctly. Even when they were good, I could not pick them. I pick them to win and cover, they lose. I pick them to lose and not cover, and they win and cover. And I just can't. This will not be a game I pick in the cigar box. I'll try to give you that pick, those picks, preliminary picks. As I said before we go, I'm going to take the Broncos and the 4 points here. I just got a feeling they're playing better football. The Falcons are in disarray. Still some injuries at wide receiver. But they could very easily win this game by 2 touchdowns as well. But Sean's on the Broncos. He started with something in his coffee. Rick says about Billy. I think every day. I'm not sure what's going on with him. I gotta maybe check in on him. So I'm waiting for Rick's pick. Rick's on the Broncos, and Billy's pick. Falcons. Oh, Billy's in the right game this time anyway. That's a start. All right. Here's a game that everybody's going to want to watch at 1 o'clock. So you're probably going to need the NFL ticket to get it. Houston at Jacksonville. Texans are -7. A 1-win Texan team is a 7-point favorite on the road at the Jaguars. Jaguars are bad. Minshew is out. They've had some COVID situation, I think, there this week too. So I don't know. Do I have to pick this game? We should throw this game out, right? I'll go with the Texans -7. The quarterback's the difference, I guess. Deshaun Watson, it's a shame a kid as talented as that is saddled with the nightmare that he's got in Houston. So let's hope that his situation improves and maybe finds his way to the Patriots. Just kidding. Or not. Texans for Rick. Billy's on the Jaguars. And Sean is on the Texans. Okay. All right, guys. Now we get to Rick's game. The 2 teams that are a bit of an enigma. The Lions -4 at the Vikings. I don't know what to make of either team. The Vikings, Dalvin Cook, who I thought was out last week, and I got to pay closer attention to my injury report because I bet the Packers last week. Very bad move on my part. Dalvin Cook had one of the best individual games in Vikings history, I would say. Can I post the lines? Post them where, Bill? Oh, we mean after this? I can probably do that. Where was I? Dalvin Cook, Lions were playing better. They get Stafford back this week. I just feel like the Vikings might be getting it together, and I'm going to go with Rick's team. The Vikings -4 here. Billy's on the Lions, and my boy Matt Patricia. Rick's pick is easy. Don't even know why I'm looking for it. And Sean is on the Vikings, -4. That's a potential cigar box pick, by the way, guys. Giants at the team formerly known as the Redskins. The footballers are -3, the Washington footballers. The team formerly known as the Redskins. Another game nobody cares about unless you're a Giant or a Redskins fan. Team with no quarterback against a team that thinks they have a quarterback. Danny Penny. I'm not even giving him Danny Nickel anymore, Bill. No more Danny Dimes, guys. We got to make a pick, and I'm going to have to pick the footballers. They played better football than you might think. They played some decent defense. I'm going to take Washington here, minus the 3 points. Oh, gee. Well, I can. Next week I'll do that, Bill. It takes time to get it in the banner there. I can do that next week, though. What I'll do maybe, if I do that, it's hard to keep track of my comments and stuff. I'll try to figure out a way to do that next week, Billy. It's not a bad idea. It's hard. I can't put in all the games and just kind of go back and forth. And then when I go to try to select a new banner, I lose track of your guys' comments. So, but we'll see what I can do. I might be able to do something here. Anyway, Rick's on the Giants. Billy's on the Giants. And Sean is on Washington with me. We got too many teams alike, I think, Sean. I'm a little worried. Moving to Monday night. Oh, another big matchup where only guys like me care. And Sean, since the Dolphins aren't playing that day. Patriots. -7 at the Jets. How bad are the Jets? The Patriots, as bad as they are, as bad as they've played, with a quarterback who can't throw the ball anymore, are 7-point favorites on the road. Oh, I know who I'm taking. I'm taking the Patriots -7. But it's, Darnold's out, most likely, barring a miracle. Darnold's out tomorrow night. Jets are in disarray. Frank Gore's their number one running back. What else do you need to know? Patriots are, again, I really wish that Garrett Stidham was playing this game. It'd be a great place to start getting him some action and maybe some confidence, because the Jets' passing defense is just atrocious. And the Patriots will probably win this game by more than a touchdown. Excuse me. But it's time for them to start finding out about who they got for next year. So Sean's taking the Jets. No, he's not. He's taking the Patriots, by the way. A bulletin board behind me. Maybe I can do that, Bill. Rick's on the Patriots. Where's your pick, Billy? Is it in here? Jets. Attaboy, Bill. You got to stay true to your school, even if it means a loss every week. That's where I stand. All right, so that's our picks for the week. Guys, I will post the results, and Sean now will be able to partake in our little excursion to BJ's whenever we go. I'll let you guys know. My brother-in-law, Drew's got to get himself healthy. We got the whole COVID situation. Some people are more amenable to going out right now than others, depending on the situation. So we'll talk more about it as we move through the season, but we'll get together for sure at some point, as I promised all of my guest pickers when we started doing this. So game of the year for the Jets. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, I'm sure ESPN wishes they could flex out of that game. They don't have the ability to do that. One thing we'll talk about in the coming weeks too, guys, is the TV landscape is going to change greatly potentially here in the next couple of years. As the Sunday night package is going to come up for bid, for lack of a better term, and ESPN and ABC really want to get involved in Sunday night. I think the Thursday night package will be coming up. If NBC were to lose Sunday nights, they'd probably be trying to get one of the Sunday afternoon packages. So there's going to be a lot of potential changes in the TV landscape in the next few years as well, as there has been over the last 5 or 6 years. Things have changed a lot from when we grew up watching the games and knew who you're going to get, the Jets and Giants and one other team every week. And you knew the AFC teams would be on CBS and the NFC teams would be on Fox, and we don't know that anymore. But that's okay. So that's it, guys. I do want to again mention the Spotify deal. I will mention that my guest this week on Friday will be Marty Appel, noted baseball and specifically Yankee historian. I did an interview with Marty, a couple months ago now, because he couldn't make it on a Friday, and my schedule's been full. And I apologize to Marty again for not getting this interview out sooner, but it's very, very interesting. If you're a baseball fan and a Yankee fan, you don't want to miss this interview. I had a lot of fun chatting with Marty. And I've got some good guests coming up in coming weeks. I've got Rex Walter, who was is a assistant coach in the NCAA, and I apologize for not knowing which team right now. But Rex was a star at Kansas. He played in the NBA for a bit with the Nets and a couple other teams, and we're going to talk about the current NCAA season, and also Larry Farmer will be my guest on the 27th of November. Larry, if you guys remember back far enough, played basketball at UCLA when they were with the Bill Walton years, and he was the head coach of UCLA in the early 80s, which when it was still a tough act to follow. The Wooden years were not that far behind him, and we're going to talk to Larry about his days at UCLA, what it was like to play for John Wooden, what it was like to be one of the guys that followed John Wooden, and his career after UCLA as well. He's retired now. He's had some other head coaching jobs at Loyola, Chicago, and some other places. He was an assistant coach here the last several years, and he's retired, and he's writing a new book, which we'll talk about as well. So we'll have Larry Farmer on the 27th. So we got some good interviews coming up. And we are going to reschedule Billy Martin Jr. as well, probably in December. So, guys, it's a beautiful day. Don't waste it all watching football like I probably will. I am going to go out and have a couple of beers later. Not sure where. Hopefully BJ's, if I can get my wife to agree to that. Watch a little football, have a little midday lunch, early dinner, and we'll have a few adult beverages. You guys enjoy your week. I'll see you here Friday, hopefully, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Marty Appel, and I'll see you back here next Sunday. Billy wants to know the line for the Cowboys. Minus 13, or they're getting 13.5, Billy. Shoot me a message on Facebook if you need any other lines. I will be glad to follow up with you. Guys, have a great week. We'll see you soon. Look for my vlogs during the week as well. I'm going to start doing some little 10, 12-minute vlogs as well. Have a great day.